money. And we found out that the provinces and territories are incredibly behind. Newfoundland and Labrador and the Yukon and Northwest Territories have dementia strategies, but that is in fact it. Then we hold out whether or not there's public resources that are available for individuals and families. And that one tends to have some public resources, and then everything else tends to be flat. So again, we looked at whether or not there are care pathways published for people to help them understand what the health navigation process is. And again, that is very nebulous in each of the areas. So that's someone in the family who's trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I get there? And really what we see is that's not been provided. We also look at things like published resources, whether or not the public health website has information about whether or not there's information about how you can change behavioral risk factors, etc. And again, we fail on all counts. And these are easy things to do.
And why do you think this is the case, Laura?
There's been very little in terms of visibility around dementia, despite the huge prevalence of it. And I think so many people just kind of throw their hands up and say, oh yes, dementia, that's a real problem, and then move on. So what this report does is provide specific tactical things that we can do in country and each province and territory that can make the lives of people with dementia and their carers better, as well as hold government to the promises that they made. So these are very specific indicators, and it really shows us how far we have to go.
Okay, share some of those with our listeners, Laura.
So we want to see whether or not each of the regional health authorities in Ontario, we would call them LHINs, and now Ontario Health Teams, have information available to the public on the incidence and prevalence. And the answer mostly is no. That doesn't take any effort. And whether or not there's data collected, and again, mostly the information is no. We wanted to see whether or not there were ministers who had dedicated portfolios with seniors or dementia in that. Of course, Ontario does have that, but our seniors ministry doesn't have much authority over the dementia profile. We also ask, are there mandate letters that the government has that are available, and are they including dementia? And again, the answer is no. So what we can do is go through each one of these areas and check off that. It's not hard to publish resources for caregivers about dementia. Certainly our governments do that, but in Ontario, have they done it? No.
So I'm finding this interesting because I started out our conversation more on the tangible supports, and I don't mean websites or that sort of thing. I found myself as a dementia caregiver who knows public policy, who's able to navigate government, who had some time to be able to do it. And I found myself not needing those types of resources, but actually needing care and in an urgent capacity. And the answer I got back from our local health network that you just spoke about was, if you can't find care, we don't have enough care to give you, you will have to admit your dad to hospital.
Absolutely what people are getting as a resort. And now, of course, if you do need care, you've got to admit your dad to hospital. They have the right now under Bill 7 to place your dad as far as 70 kilometers away if you're in Southern Ontario, and 150 kilometers away if they don't have an immediate placement. So we don't have the solutions in place for dementia care. More than 75% of people with dementia live in the community, and people need a bit of help and support and assistance. And until our province or our country takes this seriously, the dollars will go somewhere else. And we know that the dollars need to go to dementia, and they need to go to things like home care as a priority, which right now it isn't.
Laura, we thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. Laura Tamblin-Watts is the founder and CEO of CanAge, which is Canada's national seniors advocacy and organization. As I said, a topic near and dear to me, but it is so widespread. And I'm getting to that age where so many of my friends have parents who are beginning to show signs of dementia, and it is not a fun journey. Coming up after the break, we are going to spend some time talking about cyber security with an expert on the Liberals' legislation.
When you're a doctor, sometimes trying to keep hope alive is the biggest challenge.
He was lucky he had you fighting for him.
Why?